Could muscle memory from clockwise training throw off a horse's stride on anti-clockwise tracks? Now that's something to think about. You win some, you lose more.
Hello and welcome to Out the Gate. This is where you'll get the weekend's best racing intel in 30 minutes more or less, and definitely more this week. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly, as always, joined by Racenet's Gilbert, Gardiner, and Gil. You told us she was a freak, and well, she's an alibi. Proved it to us last Saturday at Randwick.
Oh, how good was that?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't thinking that at the 600.
Don't think anyone was.
No. And then at the 400, you're thinking, oh, she might win by a length. And then whooshka. It was unbelievable. And we said, I mean, she's got that gear change. It's just extraordinary, that push button, and it's like the afterburners go on and it's see you later. And then she was throttled down the last
the old Fast and Furious NOS button, just see you later.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually a very good point. Yes, no, and that was unbelievable, breathtaking. And thank goodness Autumn Glow took the soft option and missed the Doncaster.
Yeah, right. The soft option going to the best weight for age race in the autumn. It's absolutely tremendous. Mitch Cohen, what was it like at Randwick this past Saturday? And welcome in as well.
Yeah, it was good. Unbelievable performance, you're right. As Gil said, at the 600, she was back second last and then had to go widest on the turn. You thought, no hope, but 49 kilos on the back. We've just got another superstar of the turf. Now we're just hoping at some stage they clash. I mean, we've got a big $10 million race up here in the spring, so I dare say, you'd be foolish not to target that with a horse like her. She's got a couple of Group 1s on the resume, but $10 million is a lot to knock back. So that'll be the race I think they go after, and that'll be the race I think she probably wins if she turns up like she did on Saturday. But yep, a good day of racing on this weekend as well. Look, I'm still waiting for that polo. We're up to the second last day of the Sydney Carnival, and you boys are in those polos, and the posters must be slow. It must be the fuel prices getting that polo up in Sydney, because I'm just here in white, and you boys have got those nice polos on.
Yeah, the diesel prices have really let us down. I might bring one with me this weekend and just throw it over the fence to you while I'm in some sort of beer garden at Randwick this weekend. But of course, it is day 2 of the championships this weekend. 4 Group 1s on the card. We are brought to you by Tab Touch as well, so make sure you are betting with Tab Touch this weekend. But as I said, 4 Group 1s this weekend. Caulfield is the backup card. We're going to do a deep dive on the Queen Elizabeth and the Oaks. But before we get started, make sure you do follow Racenet tweets on X, Facebook and Instagram, as well as the YouTube. Give a like and subscribe there as well. Plenty of content still coming your way because, of course, next weekend, it is the Quokka, which has absolutely snuck up on us. I thought it was 2 weeks away. Found out yesterday. It's next weekend. Of course, you've got Ram Magneria. He's going to fly the flag, so we can just lock that one in for Gil's tip already. Ray will get the job done over there. And a couple of, Bjorn Baker's going back to win it for what feels like the 5th time. But you know what? Let's get out the gate. Queen Elizabeth Stakes, main event this weekend. Small but select field. Feels like it's missing one horse in particular, but we'll go to you, Mitch, before we get into it. Randwick looks like, and I say this with trepidation, it's going to be a belter of a track this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not worried this week. I don't think we're going to get rain unless it's some thunderstorm that creeps up on us, but even on the day, the weather's pretty nice, so we should get a good surface on. So, yep, small but select field. We've kind of known what this field was going to look like for a couple of weeks now, really, so no major surprises, particularly once Chris and the team decided that this was the way they were going with Autumn Glow. So, yep, 8 runners, but all really good horses on their day.
Speed map up on your screen now with Lindemann. He looks the obvious speed in the race, but I did hear William Haggis on radio before coming in here, and he said, well, Caviar Heights can go forward and lead as well, and you'd almost expect Dubai Honor with blinkers on to roll forward as well. So we might actually end up getting a half-decent speed here.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I mean, Nash rated Lindemann perfectly last start, didn't he? He nearly got away with it. You're going to expect a similar thing. Speaking to Tom Marquand during the week, he just wants it to be an honest horse race, and that's what they've done with all of their English horses that come over here. He's not going to sort of hit the go button at the 300 on Dubai Honor, you wouldn't imagine. So he'll be right there. They're all going to find their spots, and it'll be may the best horse win on Saturday.
Tom Marquand, of course, wanting the opposite of what Tony Tobre wants in a fair horse race as well. But let's get to a couple of the replays on the screen now. First of which being the George Ryder Stakes. And well, it's basically, let's just enjoy watching Autumn Glow for 30 seconds. But what you do take out of this is, aside from obviously she's an alibi, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th ran okay in the Doncaster.
Yeah, I mean, they're all good horses, aren't they? They're Group 1 winners on their day, a lot of the horses chasing her, but she's in a league of their own. Like, this is an utterly dominant performance. Look, I guess we would have wanted to see the Doncaster. We've seen the Doncaster now, so it's a bit of Hindsight, we would have liked to see the match, but look, she was going through the line again here, pretty untested. I mean, there's more to offer. So the big box is it's the 2000. Will she see out the 2000? Everything tells you like she's got plenty to offer, and she's the class animal. So I don't think it'll be an issue on Saturday.
Son, she's never raced past a mile, but every time she's run over the mile, she's been throttled down on the line.
Oh, she'll get it, but she won't be in front.
Simple. And we'll go to the Randvet, which is one of the other lead-ups as well. Nash rates Lindemann absolutely perfect here. It takes Aliana all of the home straight to get there, but Sir Delius, Mitch, Craig Williams didn't have a good day on Golden Slipper Day. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, look, it's been all primed around. They've made no secret that this preparation's been all about trying to win a Queen Elizabeth with him. So, look, he appears to be on track. We know what happened during the spring down there. He's hitting the line well here. I wouldn't expect a similar scenario on Saturday. You're right, Lindemann, great. Aliana, of course, backed this performance up with another win at 2,400 metres. I think it's tick, tick, tick for all these horses. They're all going well. It's just if they can beat the favourite.
So you and I had that day during the spring at Flemington at Gay Stable, the day after Sir Delius won the Underwood Stakes, and Gay sort of couldn't be more effusive in her praise of this horse. And I suppose when it comes to this stable in the grand finals, they know what they're doing, but do like to pick up the ones along the way too. How's he going?
Yeah, not bad. Look, I thought that was a great run personally. I just wonder if he's a bit more of a grinder. I wonder whether he's got that ability to sort of run him down. This is probably the only worry. But I mean, he was favourite for Cox Plates, Melbourne Cups, and all sorts last year. He was going to win everything last spring, and he beat Via Sistina. We saw that, beat her fair and square, beat the best weight for age horses in the country last spring. And you'd expect third up, he's going to run as well as he can. I think the horse that won that race for mine is the one. And obviously you've got to respect the new freak.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. We're going to touch on her once again, because here's the Tancred with Tom Marquand just ripping off at the 600 metres. And this is where I think this is the interesting part of this race this weekend. Aliana is definitely going to be the strongest horse late here. So if Autumn Glow, if there is any chink in her armour, which we've seen Aliana get close over a mile and 7 furlongs, could Saturday be the day if we get a genuine tempo, Mitch?
I don't think it will be, but I mean, as I said previously, she's clearly flying. She's a terrific horse in herself, and another great ride here from Tom Marquand. He just got up early. The same race, they used this race previously before going into the Queen Elizabeth, so similar prep for him as they did last time. I think they're both going to run well on Saturday, but I'm sticking with the favourite.
Yeah, so you're with her on top?
Yeah, for sure. I don't mess with greatness, and I think she is a genuine superstar. I think you've just got to trust the two people that know her best, and that's Chris Waller and James McDonald. They both think she'll see out the 2,000 metres. Everything points to the fact that she will. She's been sort of barely tested. I think she's just the sort of horse that'll continue to find it's a cracking race on Saturday. I don't want to take $1.40, put it that way, on a horse that's being tested at 2,000 metres for the first time, but I think she will win.
You and I are sickos, Gil. We're trying to get it beaten.
Yes. No, well, it's not so much that. I mean, as Mitch said, you want to see these horses build these picket fences and keep on winning. But, I mean, we're here to make money, aren't we? We're here to find winners. Winners for the punters. And at $1.45 with the Whirlpool, probably be $1.10.
Which was $1.05 in the George Ride, I reckon. Yeah. She'll be $1.10 on Saturday.
So they're going to pile into her. Aliana, I mean, if she's not an absolute certainty to run second, absolute moral certainty to run second, that is just easy money to collect.
Yeah.
And I think, as we said, with that little asterisk, the 2,000, blah, 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 she could easily win this race. So I think she's in great form. She's won 2 on the bounce. She's hard fit. And I just cast my mind back to probably last spring. And if you would ask Chris Waller leading up to the Cox Plate, who's your Cox Plate horse for next year, he would say Aliana, because he knew that Via Sistina was on the way, unlikely to sort of come around again. Aliana has been his number 1 top seed for a Cox Plate. Now, if that's the case, well, this is her race. And she might be a spring horse. Maybe the Cox Plate still is her race. But I think that is the sort of credentials or the air of what am I saying? Superiority that Chris thinks that this could be his best horse in the stable, unless you're called Autumn Glow. So
I think I'd prefer to see her in a Caulfield Cup, Gil.
Yeah, well, the only issue that she'd probably get about 67 kilos. I reckon you'd be half a chance to ride her in a Caulfield Cup, Mitch. So that's the problem. So that is the query.
I'm in good shape. Don't worry.
dropping back in distance is a query. I think she's got the fitness. I think she can do it. I mean, I tell you what. I think I don't know if Chris. I think he wears one of those heart rate rings or one of those.
Yeah, the aura,
whatever they're
things.
called. Yeah, I'd love to tap into that and just see what the heart rate is at about the 250, because I think this would just be extraordinary for Chris to sit back and watch your unbeaten, new superstar, and then you've got, your the heir apparent or your next best. I think the best horse in training in Australia in Aliana, sort of hunting her down.
What happens if the strong, tough old bastard of a gelding just kicks off the turn and Nash says, "See you later"?
No.
That'd get a scare through everyone.
Well, that would get a scare through everyone. But look, I just hope that the rest of these speed humps just get out of the way and just let Aliana, Autumn Glow, and Sedelius fight out the finish.
That's absolutely stiff on a few. Like, every horse in this race is a Group 1 winner, so that's a bit rough, I would say. But
Wootton Verney's a Cooney winner.
Yeah, of course. He could be set for the Wagga Cup after this. But yeah, I think the biggest factor in this is Damien Lane, because he gets to these grand final races sometimes and he's like, yeah, those instructions were great. I'm just going to go win the race. He does tend to do that sometimes, and he has done it before, and it wouldn't shock me to be like, he won't want to be 3 lengths off Autumn Glow on the turn. He'll either want to be in front of her or right on a hammer.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I reckon the hammer would be. Yeah, I'm not sure she can sustain. Well, maybe it'd be a bold play to sort of be up there firing. But
you've won the 2 Group 1s. This is worth $5 million. Have a crack and find out.
Yeah, well, we'll find out.
Yeah. Let's get to the Australian Oaks, which is the next of the Group 1s that we'll take a look at here, where, well, they come through 2 lead-ups, basically. They come through the Adrian Knox and they come through the Vinery from a couple of weeks ago. And there's the speed map up on your screen, Mitch, where Long Legs from the inside gates looks your likely leader. You think Profoundly will roll across as well. And we'll have a look at some of the replays. But on the speed map, do you think there's any changes from there on the screen?
No, not too much. I would say that's just about right. I think, you basically, it's not sort of too hard. You're not looking for too many form lines in this race, are you? You're looking for an Adrian Knox, and you're looking through the Vinery a week earlier. So I think it's a pretty competitive race. It's look, I think there's a number of horses that can win, that's for sure.
Gil, we're going to go to you for this one, because you tipped us after summer at 60s and said have something to place, and, well, you were right.
Robbed.
Yeah, but here in the red is after summer, of course. She looks like she's sort of floundering as well, but obviously gets the interference, picks up the bit late, beaten an inch. Long Legs next to her in the lime green, and then on the outside, you've got the favourite, I Hope A Wins. Surely you only want to be with After Summer from this, given the last 100 metres and through the line.
Well, that's right. And that's, if you looked at my tips that'll come up on the screen shortly, you'll find that I am on After Summer after this. I'm actually annoyed I didn't back her for the Oaks prior to this run. So I've actually missed the price there. I've done it all wrong. And if that interference had happened in Victoria, that would have been upheld, that protest. That was absolutely disgraceful.
As someone who was on Belcheval, I was very happy it was dismissed.
That they let Belcheval win that race. That's extraordinary behaviour. Totally cut off our momentum. But as you said, After Summer, just kept punching along, and as a proud owner of a hare on the back of a Autumn Sun gelding, anything Autumn Sun, I'm all for Autumn Suns, because obviously my stallion dreams are gone now. So I'll be looking for derbies and all that in the spring, and cups in the future. So I want some more classic winners for the Autumn Sun. This is, of course, as a filly. As we know, it's an Oaks. But still, Autumn Sun, that's the one we sort of got to follow. And I think third up, ready to go, Dominic Sutton. I mean, who would have thought he's got 2 runners in an Australian Oaks? What a great effort from a small team out of Flemington. Yes, he invests heavily. Like, he buys some proper horses, and he buys horses to target these sort of races. So all power to him. I think she's the one out of his 2, and she looks the one for me.
What did you make of the Kiwi, the New Zealand Oaks winner, Mitch? I Hope A Wins, just sort of almost gassed out a little bit late, but she was obviously an Oaks winner 2 starts ago now. Yeah,
I thought she was all right, to be honest. I thought, obviously, she's had the tick over trial here in between those runs. She was dropping back from 2,400 on that Oaks run over in New Zealand as well, back to 2,000 metres. I know they had a fair gap between runs, but yeah, she looks like a proper staying filly. I don't think you can put a line through her at all. She's favourite for a reason. I think the 2,400 metres, she's going to lap it up. So, yeah, she's definitely a chance.
And let's get to last week, which is where basically everything else comes out of here, which is the Adrian Knox. And I do owe you a coffee and or beer, Mitch, whichever you take. With me, I was counting my cash on Soverado at this point, but Profoundly just really picks up the bit late and charges through the line. But the horse that runs 4th here, I reckon, it must be your exotics on the weekend, because it'll run 2,400 Lamora.
Yeah, look, I've gone this form line on with Profoundly in the race. I thought the win here was terrific. I think Tommy Berry probably just needs to end up with a little bit of luck. Hopefully he lands a couple of pairs back in and with a little bit of cover from barrier 10. So But her performance was terrific. She was great in that Kembla Grange Classic, then backed it up here. So 2,400 metres on Saturday. Obviously going to be a test for a few of them for the first time. But yep, I'm happy to be with her. Not wrapped about 350. I thought Classic Jammies, which I made best bet last week, probably foolishly given the draw and how it all panned out. But she was actually pretty good through the line. So I think 2,400 metres on Saturday. She can run well as well. But again, the draw's a little bit awkward. So she's drawn one inside. So she'll probably go back and probably need a bit of luck as well.
So you are with Profoundly then?
Yeah, but not, look, I'm not super confident in this race. I think there's a number of chances, but I think she's going great. I think, the win last week was awesome. She ran like a horse that'll lap up the 2,400 metres. So with her, but not with a great degree of confidence.
You and I are aligning again after summer.
Yeah. No, we got to stick fat.
So this is the race I've got to bet in for the Bucks party this weekend. I already sent the tip in. I was like, we're going after summer and take the price now. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think so. And look, as long as nothing sort of crosses her off at the 200 or anything like that, or any sort of Sydney jockeys start pulling some funny things,
well,
we should be
where's
right.
Zach Lloyd? Has he got a ride in this just to really screw with the
No, he hasn't.
Again?
No. But I think Dom will get his second Group 1 here on Saturday, and Billy will ride his third.
Yeah, third.
Group 1.
He won the Australian Guineas. Did he win one in Perth?
No, South Australian Derby.
Yeah, well, he won something in Perth when he was the fly-in. Let's get to the Queen of the Turf Stakes, where this is a very, very interesting race now that Pride of Jenny is in it. Speed map's pretty easy. Pride of Jenny should lead, but I tell you what, if she's half slow, I would love to see what happens if a few jockeys just try to cross her. But very interesting, Mitch. The market of 1, 2, 3, they've all drawn 1, 2, 3 here as well.
Yeah, I think we know who's going to be leading this race. It's fair to say, but I dare say Perfumist will be right outside her and be putting a little bit of pressure on to whether she goes with her. It will be a different story. But I think it was mixed thoughts. I was speaking to people during the week in terms of the Queen Elizabeth did. People wanted to go. Some wanted her to go that way to put a bit of tempo on in the race, and others were like, "I'm glad she's not here." So, look, she's just she's one of the more unique gallopers we have in Australia, isn't she, Pride of Jenny? So we know she's going to give a sight. It's whether she can back up that excellent last start performance.
I think J-Mac's probably the happiest that Pride of Jenny isn't there because he's the one jockey that genuinely cannot work it out. He's beaten her once, and that was when Via Sistina won the Cox Plate by 100 yards. Other than that, he just is like, what is going on here? It doesn't suit his calm and relaxed style whatsoever. But Mitch did make an interesting point, obviously. Tonya Tobre, during the last sort of week and a half, came out and said he doesn't want any geldings taking on Pride of Jenny and really just stuffing her up. And he's
going to have a mare.
which we'll get to, which Perfumist will... Bjorn Baker's not one to shy away from a challenge, shall we? So I'll be like, well, stuff you. We'll have a crack here with my mare. And interesting, I get the placement. This is the weaker of the two races. I don't agree with the sentiment that Tony saying, I want a fair race, which in his mind is no one wanting to be on the speed and Pride of Jenny getting her own way like she did when she won the Queen Elizabeth 2 years ago. I see it from a selfishly owner's point of view where you just want your horse to have its best chance. But I do think it's having a bit of cake in your eat it going, I don't want anyone to take me on, but I want to have a match race for $1 million against Autumn Glow.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one. Unless a horse is, like, say, in this race, if like a Lucy went up and started eyeballing Pride of Jenny, fair enough. You'd say, look, there's some funny buggers.
Well, especially with Waller having 4 in the race.
That's right. So that you'd think that there'd be some funny bugger sort of stuff going on. I don't think, I haven't gone through it forensically. I think I might have heard Tony on radio say he's got the stats, or at some point he's going to release the figures and go back and look at all the horses that have challenged her, and then eventually they drop out, and whether there's some sort of issues there. But, you take it on that Australian Cup last week, just finds a leader. That's just what it is. The gelding is a leader, goes up forward. The start prior in Sydney led, got collared, ran, I think, second or third behind Vauban. You're not going to send a lead. It'd be like riding Pride of Jenny as a back marker.
Yep.
She just wouldn't handle it. So you've got to ride your horse to its best opportunity. Now, if Perfumist is a go-forward horse, and we're hearing
it can go very quick.
That it can go very quick, well, we'll find out. Go forward, eyeball Pride of Jenny. If that's the case, well, so be it. The one that will be just chuckling behind it will be Treasure of the Moment. She'll just be ready to fire there. So, yeah, look, I've heard all the conversation. We are not... yes, a match race would be amazing. Oh, great. Autumn Glow versus Pride of Jenny.
I don't care about a match race.
I don't care. This is, like, we're talking...
Does anyone care? Does anyone want a match race? We throw up the concept every spring and autumn, but is it needed?
A match race is boring. I want the best horses in the best races. So I would have loved She's an Alibi and Pride of Jenny to both be in the Queen Elizabeth this weekend. I understand why they're both not there. But I do think with, people saying, oh, I'll throw $1 million up. There's a race worth $5 million. And you've won it before. It's not like it's unknown territory. If it's like, oh, stretch it to 2,400, Tony. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But she won this race 2 years ago. But I think the mile is perfect for her. This is a weaker race. It's just a matter of, and she's the greatest, you don't know what she's going to do. She could come out and kill him, or she'll be beaten 50 lengths because she's still tied from the Australian Cup.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be beaten that far. I think what I mean.
Though.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think she'll be up there. She'll be in the firing line.
It's going to be great to watch.
A match race, it's great conversation, as Mitch said. It's a good talking point every time. But this is horse racing. This is what they're out here to do. I mean, they're not meant to be boat races. Maybe in another life, once Pride of Jenny retires, maybe what's that boxing tent up at Birdsville? She can be one of those prize fighters that goes around the country.
Fred Brophy.
If you want, that's him. If you want, 2 horse races, once she retires from horse racing, then go around the country and become an exhibition galloper.
It's like that bloke in America who says, "I'll give you 100 to my 20 that I can scull a beer faster than you."
Yeah,
he makes a fortune.
Yeah, she could be the TikTok horse of the future. Go around and do that. But look, I think we're talking Group 1s. You're talking the best horses. Every single owner in this race wants to go out and win a Group 1, don't they?
It's $1 million Group 1.
And you're not going to hand it up. You're not going to hand it up and say, "Oh, well, no worries, Pride of Jenny." Yes, it's good spectacle when she's leading by 6. And maybe if she was a 5 or 6 year old, she could do that, stretch them out by 6 and keep on going, as we saw in that Queen Elizabeth, that famous Queen Elizabeth. I think they've now figured out that if you can just keep her on a shorter leg rope, that you might be able to get over the top if you can absorb that pressure. And there is going to be pressure. So I think it's great. It's a good discussion, I suppose. But look, I'm not a big match race man.
You're with Treasure though.
I'm with Treasure. I think she'll be smoking the pipe. I mean, that run at Caulfield the other day, they went pretty slow. So it was a sit and sprint home, and she was clearly the class horse. I mean, you look at the horses behind her,
she should have done what she did to him.
Yeah, that's right. And she was given, and the way the race sort of mapped out, Astral Flame led them up, basically walked through the first 800, then Treasure the Class just sort of went into overdrive. I think she'll get a nice suck run here. Not dissimilar to the Memsey, which is arguably sort of her peak performance, I guess, in open age company. She got that beautiful suck run, came through and absolutely blitzed them, blitzed the likes of Mr. Brightside and co. So I think she'll get that sort of run here with Pride of Jenny, obviously doing what she does. And if Perfumist is the one that goes forward, Treasure should be, a pair or 2 back from there and just waiting to go. Don't rule out She's a Hustler to run a cheeky race. Yep. Caulfield Cup type horse for the spring, heading up to Queensland after this, and is probably a horse that has always raced well, consistently. Graham Begg knows what he's doing. And she could be a horse that actually might absorb a bit of this pressure. So if you get the stitch, She's a Hustler could be the one that runs a cheeky race. Don't know if she can win it, but she can certainly run top 3.
And I know who Mitch was tipping. As soon as I saw this barrier draw, I was like, I know exactly what he's tipping. It's a mare that he's been with all the way through. She's one that I reckon she'll get 2,000 in time, but she could eat up this pressure on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with Idle Flyer. You're right, she's one of mine, but she's sort of horse. I mean, she's out of a mare called Progressive, and I think she's exactly that. Like, during the spring, she sort of got to that Empire Rose. She ended up starting favourite in that Empire Rose, was well backed, and it just wasn't her day. She ended up finishing last, but she's taken on a fair few of the horses from that occasion in this race with the addition of the likes of Lady Shenandoah and Treasure the Moment. Yep, she's going to have to make that jump. But she's giving every indication that we haven't seen the best of her yet. So I'm taking the plunge that she is the sort of horse that will continue to go through, and this is where we're going to see the best of her on Saturday. She's got the perfect draw there. She's camped to just be a pair or 2 back, and then hopefully just unleash off a hot tempo of Pride of Jenny. So Idle Flyer for me. Her run in the Emancipation was really good. First up at 1,200, she just found him a little bit too sharp. A mile on Saturday, she's ready to peak. This is the race they targeted. So Idle Flyer for me, best bet on the program.
There you go, best bet on the program. So I won't even need to do that once we get to it. Sydney Cup speed map up on your screen, and big field of 16 here. And, well, it's a good race. It's an interesting betting race, but I just feel like, I probably say it every year in fairness, that the luster of the Sydney Cup's worn off when, River of Stars, who had 51 kilos in a Melbourne Cup, is your top weight here on 56.5. There's no sort of natural top weight in this race. Changing the Guard looks your likely leader. Litzdale will sit on speed. Highland Bling should as well. Geez, OTI have got a good hand in this race as well, in a shock to no one. But Mitch, how are we looking at this race? Because it's very even with the suppose only the 5.5 kilos top to bottom.
Yeah, you'll see my Quaddie how difficult I found this race when we go through the numbers later on. But yeah, River of Stars top weight. I think what did she carry? Yeah, 51.5 when she finished fourth in a Melbourne Cup. Now she's top weight in this, carrying 56.5. So look, she's a good star in it. I think she's actually going really well, River of Stars. So she's one of the horses to beat. I think, yeah, the Speedmate's probably got it right. Changing the Guard leads in this, but you're right. It is an open affair.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you the question of trying to find me the winner.
I've gone with Soul of Spain. I think he's going good. He just ran in that Tancred last start. He was carrying 59 under those conditions, so he drops back to pretty more favourable conditions here, carrying 54.5. I think he was ticking on nicely. His run before that was terrific. So yeah, if I'm at a pinch, I think Soul of Spain. I think he's this is his race. It's the race he's been sort of looking for. So Soul of Spain from me, from River of Stars.
Well, I struggled with you, Gil, here because, well, there's a bunch of Victorians in this race. So how are you sort of spotting or pinning your hopes to one?
Well, I'm here to find a winner, aren't I?
Yeah, but you tip the Victorian. That's just your play. So which one are you? Which one are you bang?
Yeah, well, I think I'm being sort of disrespected there with the Victorians. The Victorians have been going pretty well.
They have.
I would have thought.
I'd
just like to tip the best horse in the race and the one with the best chance of winning. And I think Litzdale is the one. I think she's the most progressive out of all of these. We sort of know the levels of River of Stars and Soul of Spain and all those sort of Valiant King sort of around the same mark. Paradise Storm's an asterisk, so super run in Auckland. But what did he beat over there? We're not sure, but this has been the race, the target race after that. But Litzdale, 4-year-old mare, this is prime time. And maybe I'm looking at it with a Melbourne Cup lens. Maybe I'm looking at it with a lens towards the spring. Of course, little sister of Our and Declare, the 2019 Melbourne Cup winner. I think Litzdale on a fast deck, as we're expected to get up there in Sydney on a good 3, good 4.
Slippery the other day.
It did, and they sort of knew their cards were marked when the rain hit, and we had that sort of, it was annoying rain that it was quite heavy in the morning, to be fair. They copped a bit, and we sort of knew that she wasn't quite going to be at her best. I think we tipped her for the Roy Higgins, but
we did.
We got done there, I think around third, didn't she?
Yeah,
yes, second.
Whiskey.
Third to Whiskey on a hill. So I think on a good track, down in the weights, looks an absolute moral here for me. An absolute moral. Will be winning this, and will be, obviously, as naturally, they always go back to the top of the Melbourne Cup market. And I expect her to be among the favourites in the Melbourne Cup as a 5-year-old mare in the spring. I think 3,200 metres, tick. Weight, tick. Track, tick. Tyler Schiller, tick. Can ride a nice Group 1 down in the weights. And just go back and watch her run at Flemington in the old, what used to be called the Lavazza Long Black, which used to be a great race back in the day.
Now it's called, the Wear On or something?
Yeah, I don't know. They've sort of changed the name over the years. But basically a 2,800 metre race at Flemington on the first Tuesday in November. It's like the Melbourne Cup consolation race, I suppose, the little dance.
It's like it's the benchmark 80 version of it, let's be real.
Well,
the Queen Elizabeth on the Saturdays, the repechage.
Yeah, well, that's right. But look, Litzdale absolutely throttled them, and I'm expecting that. So look, probably at the 200, might as well line up at the bookies.
Well, I'm going to be backing River of Stars. I think if you can finish fourth in a Melbourne Cup, I don't care about the weights here. There's no horses that would probably go that close in a Melbourne Cup at the moment.
Could muscle memory from clockwise training throw off a horse's stride on anti-clockwise tracks? Now that's something to think about. You win some, you lose more.
Get to the best bets this weekend. We already know what Mitch's best bet is. It is Idle Flyer in the Queen of the Turf. How's Caulfield going to be?
Yeah.
Geez, they've a bit chewed up at the moment. That's nothing against Caulfield. It's just there's been a lot of racing at Caulfield as of late.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the trick, isn't it?
No Valley doesn't help.
No Valley doesn't help. We're out to the 8 metre mark this week. So, of course, the True's been put a line through the True for the next couple of months. We were at the 4 last. I thought, actually, to be fair, it raced well last Saturday.
There's been a lot of racing.
It was predictable. And that's all we can ask for. So we want it to be predictable. Like the weather isn't predictable this week, which is the worry. So if the rain, as they're expecting, we've copped a bit of rain this morning here in Melbourne. Of course, we're we're doing this on Thursday morning. So
Rained overnight.
we copped a bit of rain this morning and overnight, and they're expecting a dry sort of day, then storms this evening. We want the worst of the rain to hit today and maybe tomorrow, and then hopefully we get a dry day Saturday, because that's the trick. If we get the rain that we're forecast, I think it'll play fine.
Yep.
If we get rain on race day, because of the tired track, it's going to chop up and start praying.
Give me your best bet.
Well, on display for me is the best bet. So that's in the anniversary, what's it called?
Vase.
Anniversary Vase. Race 8, number 6 on display.
They could have gone to the Queen of the Turf with her.
Could have. Well, they're heading to Adelaide. So they've got sort of Group 1 targets in Adelaide for her. And I just think last start wasn't quite run to suit. So that was out of the Treasure of the Moment race. They just went too slow. She's a back marker. Finished off as well as she could. But when you're going 13, 14 lengths slower than standard time halfway through the race, it's almost mathematically impossible to make up that ground. She's a quality mare on the way up with bigger targets ahead. Should get hopefully a genuine tempo, and if the track plays fairly, I think she'll be finishing over the top.
This is just a wind. I suppose they're trying to get another win into us. I know she won a race during the spring, but it's been a little while now, and sometimes you just got to, I suppose, take your medicine, because she did run third in that Empire Rose. So.
Yeah, that's right, and the pattern doesn't help. I mean, these get back run on horses, they don't. Unfortunately, they're not like Pride of Jenny's done a good job of winning from the front, but yeah, if you're up on speed, you win more races. If you're at the back, you need luck. You're almost dictated to. Maybe she'd be a good one for a match race.
Your next best, because we'll just roll through there, is it was my Derby horse, and he finally won his maiden last start at about $1.10. I don't know where he won it. I saw it on the TV. It was like on a Tuesday.
Kilmore or something.
Where'd he go? Kilmore over 2,000 metres. He turns up in the Galilee Series final, and I will be chips in on Saturday with Arabian Prince.
Yes, no doubt. Yes, I'll be
my boy Gaiath.
Yes, no, that's right. He's still a colt too, actually. This boy, Arabian Prince, first emergency for the Victoria Derby last spring. Yourself and our esteemed colleague Brad Waters currently on leave, enjoying getting a bit of sun on his back, hopefully.
Still getting over it.
Yes, I think he got him at about 80s or maybe
$61.
Was it? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he had some early bets and didn't quite make the cut. So this is the first time we've seen him out to the trip that he's been threatening to be absolutely dominant. So we'll see what happens. He had some issues there last start. Wasn't the cruisiest. I guess went back for a bit of a kill. Had a bit of traffic to sort of navigate. Still proved far too good. So yes, Query 2400 hasn't been out there before, but on everything we've seen to date,
not concerned.
He'll absolutely eat it up. Had a little. I'm not a big pedigree buff, but the damn Princess Regina, Zabeel mare that basically throws. Steeplechasers, essentially. Not steeplechasers, but horses that get a trip. This bloke's half-brother has already won this race before.
Yeah.
Royal Crown. So that used to be with Mick, or it was with Mick Kent, but when he went away for overseas for a summer, and Robbie Griffiths actually saddled it to win this race. So that was a asterisk Mick Kent horse that won this race. And also Insidium Ruler, another half-brother, to Arabian Prince, ran second in the race a couple of years ago. So the family knows how to run well and win a Galilee Series final, and I think Arabian Prince will uphold the family tradition.
I can't wait to have the Class B picnic at Grenfell double into this, with the Gaiath hopefully winning that race this weekend. The slowest one in Australia, with probably one who could be just as slow, but looks to have a lot more talent. Mitch, your next best early on in the card at Randwick, and I'm with you here. This horse didn't have a lot of luck late first up.
Oh, sometimes it's by our own making, though, isn't it? I think I'm within the law. I found this card very tricky, and I've had to find a horse that's drawn wide, but it's probably not really an issue for her anyway. She's going to go back, and the favours probably go to the favourite here, Regal Award, but I just think she's got a class edge on a lot of these. She's been taking on, well, she was competitive in Group 1 company for most of the spring, and this is probably the easiest race she's faced for quite some time within the law. That first up run, you're right, in the birthday card, she was terrific late, and even got even over the last 50 metres, was fairly untested. So I think she had a lot more to offer over the 1,200 metres there. So stepping up to 1,400 metres on Saturday should suit her nicely. Yep, she's going to get back, and you're going to be hoping that she can get over the top of them. But I think that class will take her a long way, and we can see within the law back in the winner's stall.
That'd be nice. All right, value bets on the weekend. Yours is nice and early, straight up. Ian Craig, race 1, number 1.
Race 1, number 1, yes. Horse that we always seem to tip and occasionally.
Lammy loves it as well.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about this horse. I always just come back to it, and I've got to stick with it because it's only won 4 or 40 starts. But
he's always like 20s.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's what we want for a value bet. Don't really know how the track will play. Needs a little bit of speed on. Should maybe, hopefully, get that. Bring Forth went to Adelaide last start for Mick Price and Kent Jr. and absolutely bolted in from a leading position. So hopefully that does the same or tries to do the same thing from barrier 13, roll forward, put a bit of pace in. And My Brother's Keeper drawn out a few pairs back, 3 wide, and comes with a big swooping run at odds. Track distance class, this is sort of the type of race, 2,000 metre, sort of off Broadway. Why not? Let's start with a each way, maybe more the place.
Yep, don't mind it. And Mitch, your best value on the day comes up in the Percy Sykes, race number 3.
Yeah, race 3. I was tempted to make Cafe Florian best value. I think the place bet around Cafe Florian's a great bet, but I just couldn't back against Tempted, who's probably could be one of the best sprinters in the country. So I think if you're looking for a place bet, maybe Cafe Florian, but best value for me is in the Percy Sykes. It's Screen Icon. Still a maiden, this filly, but she's never ran a bad race in her life. In her 3 starts to date, she was beaten a pimple in the Gym Crack last spring. She returned in the Inglis Millennium and was drawn off the track on that occasion and ran accordingly. She was kept wide throughout, but just kept battling on, finishing midfield there. But it was a great run. She backed that up in the Sweet Embrace again. She was got back and was strong through the line, only just beaten there by Spicy Miss. Has had the tick over trial on Saturday. I think she's around that $9 mark. I think she's a good bet in the Percy Sykes.
I don't mind it. Very open race. Of course, Cafe Florian is running in the Arrowfield, which is race number 6. It's number 10 there. It's $3.50 a place currently with a tab touch, but up against Tempted. Quaddies. Gil, there's a bit going on at Caulfield this weekend, but you've really shortened it up here, so we've got a good chance, I reckon.
Yes, well, I don't want to steal Mitch's thunder, but when I saw some of his quaddie legs, I thought, goodness gracious me, we can't
percentages is exactly the same.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's just the look of it's just
his doesn't look great, does it?
It's just the look of the quaddie is what I'm after.
I'm going to throw in another number 2, just so you know.
Yeah, well, and I think he might miss on 2 of the legs. So he's anyway.
Well, no, I won't, because I'm throwing in one of them. So I think you know the horse. I've got to throw it in.
But. So, yes, look, first leg of the quaddie at Caulfield is the Galilee Series final. I think there's only 3 chances in this, 1, 4 and 6. 1 being single choice, probably the class horse in the field, exposed. Was a little bit just plain. I don't want to say plain. He wasn't plain. He was around the mark last start. Happy to forgive that. Form prior is definitely strong enough. Hopefully runs or should run the trip. Should have looked at that. Amazaki's a horse on the way up. He's heading towards the South Australian Derby, I'd assume. So he'll definitely run this sort of trip.
Single choices by Anders.
Oh, well, maybe the trip is a query.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Sebring mare.
so yes, Amazaki is a horse sort of going towards that Group 1 in South Australia.
Yeah.
The proven Zara Mar combination. So respect him. He finished off nicely last start. And Arabian Prince, which we touched on as our next best. I expect him just to come out and win at this trip. So race 8, the anniversary of Vars. We've gone 4 here, 6, 12, 13 and 14 on display, as we said. Hopefully a bit of speed on, finish off over the top of these. Taken might be that speed influence. The stablemate probably hasn't got much option from barrier 14. Was super last start, drew wide again on that occasion and just got touched off. So I expect rinse and repeat that performance. I think he might be, he's just a good honest horse. I think he's better at Flemington, to be fair. But anyway, we'll see how he goes at Caulfield. Astral Flame can't do much more than run second to Treasure at the moment. So if she repeats or holds that form, she wins. And Silicap, she could be sort of the best one in this field, but how well is she going? I'm not sure. So drops back from Sydney, I think, last start. But respect Graham Begg's placement there. He's won this race before. Race 9. Cut this back to 2. We've got a short price favourite. Olive Another Day, number 6. And I'm also taking Regeneration, number 5, a last start winner. So hopefully it's a race in 2 there. And we'll come home with 9, 11, 14. First chorus, Bond Mistress, the roughie, and Trapdoor. So hopefully we'll be joining in the chorus on Saturday with another North Melbourne win and first chorus and get the job done for us in the last.
By win, you mean get within 5 goals of Brisbane?
Well,
You've been stitched up. You played Brisbane 3 times at Gather Round.
Well, it's probably the best place to play. I'd rather him play in the Barossa than at the Gabba. So
Norwood or the Barossa?
No, Barossa.
Oh, I see you've been stitched out to the Barossa.
No, we've done that. That's the North Melbourne has the interstate. Bunbury's our home ground in Western Australia, and it looks like the Barossa's the home ground in South Australia, which I don't think's too bad a place.
We could talk about the gather round fixturing with the best game of the weekend being shunted to Norwood while Essendon and Melbourne play at Adelaide Oval.
Right.
Gold Coast and the Swans.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Well, no one cares about that.
Oh, please. Top 4 chances. All right, Mitch, let's get to your quaddie. And hopefully the quaddie's going well because I'll be also watching the footy at this time. So it starts at about 4:15.
Yeah, and don't worry, the Giants are out at the Barossa as well playing Richmond, so that should be a cracking
Where they
contest,
deserve
boys.
to be.
So don't you worry about that. But I've gone, as earlier alluded to, very wide. And Gil, look, I'll take the tip. I'll throw in your selection if you really want, mate. So I've gone the One River of Stars, the only horse, got the Melbourne Cup form there. Campbell Dino will be interesting to see. Obviously, under a bit of vet's watch, had a bit of heart arrhythmia at the start of the week. So just waiting to see if everything went accordingly on Thursday morning there. The 4 Solar Spain, which was top pick. The 8 Piggyback, the 10 Juakibo, the 11 Mr. Monaco, the 12 Machine Gun Gracie, the West Australian, stepping up from 1900 metres, mind you. I'll throw in the 14, so if our graphics man can throw that in, I'll take the tip and throw in Litzdale because I've gone wide enough. I may as well add another one in there and not get beaten by Gil. And the 15 Highland Bling. So wide there, but the numbers will be a whole lot less from this point on, don't you worry, boys. So in the main race, one of the main races, the Queen of the Turf. I've left out Pride of Jenny. So I've gone the 2, Lady Shenandoah, the 3, Treasure the Moment, and of course the best bet there in Idle Fly, the 8. The 7, look no further, a little horse called Autumn Glow should be winning the Queen Elizabeth. So we've got to find our value elsewhere, so hopefully we can find it in the Sydney Cup. And then the race 10, I've gone Gangster Granny, I should say Gangster Granny. I've said the 2, but it's actually the 3. So sorry, graphics boys. The 4, Catch the Glory. And Flying for Fun. Just wish she drew a little bit softer because she would have been one of the better bets on the program. I think Flying for Fun. I think she's a really nice mare.
It's dangerous that I'm agreeing so much here because I'm really keen on Flying for Fun too. But after that, $100 will get you 123.45% despite taking what feels like the field in the first leg of the quaddie. Let's get to some of the news, and obviously all eyes on Sydney this weekend with it being day 2 of the championships. Mitch, so what's going to be on Racenet this weekend?
I spoke to Tommy Marquand earlier in the week. He's sort of had a bit of a quieter time, not by choice really. He usually comes over a bit earlier and can pick up a few more rides, but getting over a bit late, it's been a bit harder for him to get as many rides as he usually would. But of course, he's here to win the main race, and that's with Dubai Honour, a race he's won a couple of times already for William Haggis. He's pretty confident with how the horse is going, but plenty of respect, of course, for the favourite, and accepts she's going to take a power of beating. He spent a bit of time up around the Hunter riding horses and relaxing up around there. So, he said he's rock hard fit. He spent the time during not riding as much as he wanted to be riding, but preparing for the English summer, which is coming up. I think he's going to go over there a very fit man because he's been working hard behind the scenes, and hopefully on Saturday, for his sake, he can get a big win, but I don't think he will because I think Autumn Glow will win. But I did have a good chat to the former trainer of Machine Gun Gracie, Justine Erklands, I should say. She's obviously sent the horse over to Lindsay Park. Did wonders over there in WA, but sort of you run out of races, don't you, over in WA, and when you've got a good horse, you've kind of got to send it east. So she's still in the ownership. And so is all the owners that were in the horse. They just sent it over to target some bigger races here. So she's had that horse from the start, actually broke it in as well. Expecting a really good performance on Saturday. But yep, I know Dobbo was out at track work this morning watching Autumn Glow work. So he's had a good chat with Chris Waller and James McDonald, who of course will be front and centre on Saturday for another big day. And I think it will be another big day for James McDonald, who just keeps winning.
Gil, towards Melbourne, obviously we're now looking towards the Adelaide Carnival as well because it kind of kicks off this weekend. There are 6 group and listed events across at Morfordville this weekend, so still a bit going on, and it almost feels like, oh, well, Golden Slipper was a month ago. I saw a photo of Guest House. He's probably due to come back into work in the next month or so it never stops.
No, it doesn't stop. And look, to be honest, I don't mind this time of year or this sort of fringe time for carnivals. It's sort of some of the good stories sort of pop pop up during this time of year as well, and some good horses, of course. Had a good chat to Dylan Dunn, so a name that's familiar to a lot of people. Of course, a jockey, went to training for a while, he got sort of burned out there with injuries and weight. Of course, the son of multiple Group 1 winning jockey Dwayne Dunn. And he's back. He's back with a vengeance, I suppose. He's just got this renewed motivation. And there's an interesting story as to how he somehow linked up with John Simons and Sheila Laxon. It was sort of a bit of a typical jockey trainer situation, sort of put your hand up, if you've ever got any rides to, throw me a bone or whatever, I'm willing to work for you and all this sort of jazz, and didn't hear anything and thought, that was a waste of time.
Worst thing people can say is no.
Yeah, that's right. So put himself out there and, then got a random call probably a week or so, probably last week, while he was driving to Geelong to ride 100 to 1 shot. He gets a call from John Simons and says, would you mind coming tomorrow, the next day, in Geelong to ride Knight's Choice in a jump out? So it's like, I'll go and ride a Melbourne Cup winner. Sure. Of all the things. Anyway, so he's just got this, it's only been a week, obviously, but they're sort of nurturing this little relationship. John and Sheila sort of are in need of jockeys that want to go out to Macedon and ride work and sort of, I don't want to say stable jockey. I think that's a bit of a stretch at this point in time. But anyway, so it's just he's come back and he gets his first opportunity in the Saturday Metropolitan Arena here in Melbourne for the first time in 5 years, which is extraordinary to think. He was, of course, a jockey that rode on Saturdays, every Saturday basically, back in the day, and then he had his injuries and whatnot. So anyway, it's a bit of a comeback story. So we'll get to see him on Saturday at Caulfield. He's got 2 rides for John and Sheila, and I think they're both decent chances at odds. Speaking of Sydney Cup, did speak to Glenn Thompson and Henry Dwyer about their Sydney Cup Raiders. Of course, Glenn a couple of weeks ago won a golden ticket into the Melbourne Cup with Whiskey on a Hill. Most people would probably put up stumps and say, well, I'll focus on the first Tuesday in November. But the horse is going so well. Damien Lane said you'd be mad not to go to a Sydney Cup.
Why not?
He comes out and wins a Sydney Cup. Yes, he'll get a penalty for a Melbourne Cup, but you know what? You've got a Group 1 Sydney Cup on the resume.
You've got the cash.
And the prize money. And as Glenn said, which is a great thing, great way to think, I suppose, is the Melbourne Cup is 8 months away. Anything can happen with horses in 8 months. So you've got a horse that's fit. We expect him to run the trip. So anyway, and then Paradise Storm, again, won that Auckland Cup, absolutely bolted in. Good effort in the Roy Higgins. That was a bit of a stepping stone. So back to 3,200 metres. Interesting to see how he goes. And our colleague up in, your colleague, Mitch, Jet Hatton up in Sydney, I just found out this morning. He's doing a story on Jack Jenkins. Now, I'm no UFC expert, but but Jet's done a few stories with Jack in the past. But Jack will be making his strapping debut, I'm led to believe. He's strapping a horse that he...
Just following Doug Bollinger's, coattails
that he part owns at Pimlies, who is resuming at Caulfield on Saturday here in Melbourne. Now, 2 years ago at Pimlies, won a couple of stakes races as a 2-year-old, this sort of season 2-year-old. I think he won an Anzac Day Stakes, I think it's called, listed race. And then was being touted as a Caulfield Guineas horse, and then unfortunately had a setback, and clearly has had a couple of setbacks because he hasn't raced for 2 years. He's making his return. He's won 2 trials, absolutely bolted in 2 trials last month. So Jack Jenkins, the UFC fighter, is a part owner, a proud, passionate part owner and racing person. He sort of loves the race. He's at the races basically every week. I think he might even work for Malua Racing, possibly. A little part-time operation, but working. That is not, Malua is a full-time operation, but Jack works there, I think, helping around the stable. So
pops in between gym sessions and basically grappling times.
Yeah, breaking legs and, all that sort of jazz. I'm not a UFC person. But anyway, so I'm interested to read that because Pimlies is probably the most intriguing runner at Caulfield on Saturday. 2 years off the scene. Interested to see how he goes.
Yeah, bandages front first time and gelded. Haven't seen it since it ran last to Angel Capital and Public Attention. Jeez, that is a long time ago now.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you check out all of that on Racenet. And of course, as said, the Quokka is next week, so we're really gearing up for that. So Jet will be going across to Perth for the Quokka as well. So there'll be plenty of content going up across the social media platforms as well. But the boys' Group 1 selections this weekend: Mitch with Autumn Glow on the Queen Elizabeth, Gil with Aliana, Queen of the Turf, Treasure the Moment for Gil, Idle Flyer for Mitch, After Summer and Profoundly the tips in the Oaks were in the Sydney Cup, Gil has absolutely declared lead steal. You may as well go to the bank, borrow some money and have something on, responsibly, of course. Mitch is with Soul of Spain. The best bets this weekend, Gil likes On Display, Arabian Prince and My Brother's Keeper. Mitch's best bet is Idle Flyer within the law and screen icon, but also have a place bet on Cafe Florian in the Arrowfield Stud Stakes. As said, Adelaide's got 6 group enlisted events this weekend as they attention towards their Group 1 carnival, and we'll take a look at the Quokka next week. I know it's all age day in Sydney, but we will take a look at the Quokka given it is such a big race. I think it is worth about $5 million as well. But Gil, thank you, mate. Kanga.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Mitch, thank you. See you in Sydney this weekend.
Enjoy.
Don't worry, I will. He seems absolutely thrilled. I'll be having a day with my mates and he'll be absolutely working. But of course, thank you for watching on Out the Gate. Make sure you do get to the social medias. Gil is at Gilbert Gardiner. Mitch is at Mitch RW Cohen. And of course, the show is at Racenet Tweets as well as the Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you do like and subscribe. Of course, thank you to our sponsors at Tab Touch. And we'll catch you next weekend for All Age Day at Randwick.
Could muscle memory from clockwise training throw off a horse's stride on anti-clockwise tracks? Now that's something to think about. You win some, you lose more.